The dawn of civilization. Primitive. Dangerous. Exciting. The handwriting is on the wall. If the human race is ever going to amount to anything, it needs
The most civilized caveman I have ever seen.
Look who's come out of his cave.
You're listening to the Knuckle Drags extravaganza if you're joining us on Z Digital, or if you're listening to this at a later date, it's Cave Dweller Music. My name is Matt, and you might have seen a review for this band that we put up a little while ago. Pizza Death have a brand new record out. It's called Reign of the Anticrust, and we're joined by Pat from Pizza Death. Thank you very much for taking some time out and having a chat to us.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Appreciate it.
No worries at all. I can't remember how I came across this, but have you found the reaction to Pizza Death? People have a look at it, see the concept, go, okay, yeah, I'll buy into this gimmick. And then after that, they go, yeah, this is actually really good crossover thrash.
It's funny. I feel like there's a bit of a split. Half of the people going like, oh, this is going to fucking suck. And actually, that's a lot of the reviews we've got actually is like, I was hesitant, but, you know, it's actually really good. That's what most of it is. It's like, it's such a potentially corny concept to some people. But, yeah, it's amazing. We haven't really got any negative reviews or anything. Like a lot of people, yeah, are really enjoying it and really loving the gimmick. And it's kind of a joke that won't stop. We didn't intend to go for this long, but we'll go as long as people keep laughing and having fun. So, yeah.
And it's continued into this new record, Reign of the Anticrust. One thing I did notice going between Slice of Death and this one here, and you guys have got history in punk bands as well, but you've worked out that perfect formula where all you need for the chorus is the name of the song, and you just repeat that a whole bunch of times. I think that that is like the greatest hook.
I think I got that from Friends Were Wrong.
Yeah, they're my port of call. Every time I hear that, I'm like, this is such a Friends Were Wrong thing. I love it.
Totally. Even like Death's first album, like a lot of
that's a good shout. Yeah,
it's almost pop music, and it's just really fucking heavy, and it's like what to think you can just strip it back and be repetitive, and that kind of makes for a more fun song. I reckon it's great, and it's good for me because I have to write those lyrics.
Well, that's the other thing. I don't think many of your songs actually go over the 2-minute mark. So it's like chorus, it's verse, repeat the name of the song a few times, a few extra riffs, and then you're done basically.
You're onto us. You got the formula.
Is that something that comes from a lot of the guys in the band playing in punk and hardcore bands previously?
Yeah, definitely. And I think we've also got quite short attention spans. And we just like playing short and fast. And I don't know. I think for me, I get a bit bored going to shows when songs go for like 6, 7, 8 minutes, even 3-minute songs for me after a whole set. It's like, come on. But when there's just no time to get bored, I think for me, that's the funnest shows that you can see sometimes. It's obviously different to getting lost into like a big, long song that draws you in, but I think it's a different experience, and we're really trying to sort of lean into that and just be like, just explosions of energy, a few pieces of jokes, and then some more.
Get as many ideas into as shorter songs as you possibly can.
Pretty much. And I honestly think that's partly why this is kind of works. If it was an 8-minute song about fucking salami, the joke would be like, this is ridiculous. But if it's over before you even have a chance to think about how stupid it is, I think that's part of the key. It's just like, yeah, rapid fire jokes kind of thing.
Because then you have it in the back of your head going, wait, what was it that they just said? I got to go back and listen to it. And it takes them a while to catch on to it.
Yeah, I like to think it adds to the listenability and makes you want to go back and hear it again.
Reign of the Anticrust came out through Disdain Records. How did you guys get involved with them?
Ben reached out to us maybe about a year ago, sort of to say that he wanted to put out, so Ben's from Disdain, and he was interested in putting out our first record, but he missed the chance. We got sounded downtuned for that record. And then, so yeah, about 6 months ago, he hit us up again and was like, I really want to do this. And he had a bunch of really great ideas, like the whole Ninja Turtles concept and the 4 different colors. It's all from him. And like the way we promote it. And he's done such a great job getting the record out there and getting new people to hear it and reaching a new audience. It's been a really good move for us. Yeah.
There's 4 members of Pizza Death. Which of the Ninja Turtles are you?
Oh, me. Oh, I think I would vary on day to day, depending on how much pizza I've had.
There's a spectrum, but the other members of the band, what Ninja Turtle would you class them as? Or would you go so far as to say they're a Casey Jones kind of character?
Yeah, probably the latter. Yeah.
Did you grow up watching Ninja Turtles?
I did, but I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of cartoons as a kid. So I guess it sort of added to like the excitement of it a little bit. Just like, I feel like you're sort of doing something naughty when you watch it. And I remember I had the toys and like the action figures and comics and stuff. It's so awesome that you still see kids in Ninja Turtles merchandise and still you go into a toy shop and still buy all that stuff. It's great. Nothing's changed.
I know. I went and saw Talk to Me the other day, and they had an ad for the new Ninja Turtles movie, and I was like, how many of these things are they going to make?
Keep pumping them out. There's a new audience every year, I guess.
I know. I don't know if you've seen this, but each time they release the new Ninja Turtles, I don't know whether it's because I'm getting old, so I'm going up the scale, but they seem to be getting more and more kid-like.
100%. Yes. Yeah. So I think we're biased, but I also do agree that.
Yeah, that was like the late 90s, early 2000s one was like real dark. Maybe it was just of the time, real dark and gritty. And then there's just like the hyper colorful Nickelodeon one. And then they've gone hyper colorful again. And I'm like, where is this going for? Like, Raph's no longer mean and grumpy. He's just, a bit of a dick.
Yeah, like sort of rounded the edges of a bit, I think. Like everything, though. Did you know that that originally came from a comic book, the Ninja Turtles, and it used to be way darker and way more violent?
I didn't know that it came from that, but when I found out they had a Batman and Ninja Turtles crossover, I went out to buy that because I'm like, that's just one of those bits of pop culture that like, that's never going to happen again,
I love it.
So you grew up reading the Ninja Turtles comics then?
I remember having a handful of, I can't remember specifically, but they were quite worn. If I was to see them again, I could probably remember all of the speech bubbles without looking at them.
The one thing that, doubling back to the record, have you included in the previous piece of that stuff, have you included Ninja Turtle sound clips onto the records? Because that's one other thing that is very unique about you guys. And one of my favorite Brisbane bands, We Set Sail, did it for the longest period of time, is those little, maybe, 10 to 15 second clips at the start that sort of outline what's going to happen in the song. Where do you guys find all those clips?
Just a lot of internet trolling and I watch a lot of movies and stuff, and we all sort of like a lot of TV. So usually when we might see a mention to pizza, like, oh shit, we got to keep an eye. Like someone will send through a clip like Sopranos or one of the other ones we've used on the albums. And there's a bank. I have a folder on my Google Drive, just a bank, and there's a lot of really shit ones that'll never see the light of day. But
they're there if you need them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you've got to be picky with samples. I mean, some people will argue we've gone a little over the top, but we did definitely pick them very deliberately. And we sort of did a few rough drafts with different clips that just didn't really have the flow or seemed too forced or a bit too jammed in there. It is a funny thing to be sitting around and sort of like, no, this sample's it's not working. Back to the drawing board.
Do you have a particular favorite mine for samples that you like going through? I'm pretty sure there's two Simpsons, one on Reign of the Antichrist. But I suppose stuff that's been around for ages like that, there's probably going to be more chances it's there.
Yes. Yeah, I think The Simpsons are probably the easiest because, it's the longest running show on TV. There's so much material, although anything past the late 90s doesn't count, but still, there's still so much material there.
I was watching one recently just because it was on TV and go, oh, yeah, The Simpsons. I like The Simpsons. There's just, I think there's too many jokes, if that makes sense. It sounds counter.
Yeah,
I know it sounds counterintuitive, but like bits used to sort of play out over the course of a minute or two, but now it's like, how many times can Homer say something dumb in the space of a minute?
They've run out of ideas, haven't they? They're just
like you said, longest running TV show. They're going to have to run out of ideas eventually.
They just keep doing the same ones or doing really weird ones. Yeah. I think the other movie there's two Detroit Rock City samples in the new album, so that's probably a good one as well. We'll just keep watching cartoons and horror comedy and stuff are really good for samples.
What's your go-to horror comedy to watch?
Probably Evil Dead 2. That movie rules.
Man, I wish I had my co-host here because he loves the Evil Dead franchise.
Oh, nice.
He went so good. But there was a new one that came out this year, wasn't it?
Evil Dead Rise. I haven't seen it, but I'm skeptical.
He says that and Talk to Me. There must be like a new undercurrent in horror movies of kids getting terrorized.
Yeah, right.
Because that's what both of them are about. And he loved both of them. But Bruce Campbell's chin, I think, carries those movies all by itself.
He's 80% chin, that's why.
He's 80% chin. Going back to cartoons, he could have played the Crimson Chin from Fairly Odd Parents.
Yeah.
One thing, cartoons, mascots, Slicezilla is yours. Most good thrash bands do have a mascot. 2 questions for you. 1, where did Slicezilla come from? And 2, what mascot do you reckon Slicezilla could beat in a fight?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I guess it starts with where it came from. I think we really wanted to, and we've done it on the new album as well, include almost like a monster movie in a song. And so the first album was Slicezilla, and the second one, Frankenslice. We haven't got a whole lot of words to work with here, you can see, but you get the joke. It's just the basic idea was like, I guess it's probably one of the earliest ideas that we had of like what we sort of knew what it sounded like, but what did Pizza Death look like? And like the thought of you'd be like 200 meters tall or something in the front cover. He's huge. But the thought of a pizza slice that big smashing, it's actually Melbourne in the front cover. So him smashing that with like helicopters and jets shooting him and stuff was sort of like that. That embodies what we think it looks like if you were to kind of like, yeah. And I think that sort of was the idea, to sort of convey, like you're saying before, like to look at the cover and be like, okay, I think I know where this is coming from. And I think a lot of people, when they like it, it's like, good, that's exactly what I thought that was going to be.
But yeah, you look at mascots like the one that I always think of when it perfectly describes the band is Sodom. Can't remember the name of the mascot, but you look at Sodom and it's going to be like, this is going to be 90% about war. Sure enough, it is. And like all the riffs rule. Do you reckon Slicezilla could beat the guy from Sodom?
Yeah. I reckon he could take out Eddie from Iron Maiden too.
That's also a good one. Trying to think of other mascots, but I'm coming up blanks.
Yeah, me too.
I feel like Eddie. Yeah, as soon as we finish, we're like, we should have thought about that one there.
Hasn't Megadeth, the guy on their covers, is he got a name?
That's a good question. I know the guy you're talking about, but I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Yeah.
A recurring character with Pizza Death is Doug. How did you get him to do your social media? And is that a joke that you want to explain to our listeners who don't quite get it?
I was going to ask if you knew who he was, but I guess that defeats the question.
He showed up on one of the recent songs.
He did, yes. Yeah.
And did you work out if Doug ever ended up getting with Margaret?
I don't think he did. It's one of life's tragedies.
That's a mystery, that is. That's sad. I mean, he stayed. He should have gone back to work, but he didn't.
I know. Maybe he knows the answer, but we never will, because he had a few brushes with the law that I think might have derailed his Pizza Boy thing. But
I didn't realize that there was a negative side to the Doug story.
We don't like to talk about that though. I don't want to. But he was in the 90s a pizza boy, and for us, like Pizza Hut basically is the embodiment of pizza. Like growing up, you think of pizza, you think of Pizza Hut, the all-you-can-eat buffet or whatever. And Dougie was their mascot, and he would always deliver the pizzas, whatever. Everyone loved him, and everyone just remembered his big, goofy grin and how much everyone enjoyed getting their pizzas dropped off. And we kind of, when we started the band, we're like, fucking, what happened to Dougie? I haven't seen him for ages. And one of the very first songs that we wrote was called Beast Inside the Box. And that is about Dougie going on delivery in the pizza box beside him, coming alive and tearing off his head. And he died. And that's why we haven't seen him since. And so we kind of just used that as a recurring, like he was almost, like originally our demo just had all the instruments played by Dougie. And we just sort of tried to
that's class. That's really well done.
And we tried for the longest time to hide behind, like pretend we weren't real people, because it was during lockdown that we started. So like we had to do a lot of our social media and stuff. We tried to give it Dougie space and not our own.
Yeah.
And, we're also like kind of camera shy, so that works as well for us to hide behind. Like on our merch photos and stuff, we'll just put Dougie's face over ours.
And he's also on board as your social media guy. So if you've ever gone onto Pizza Death's Facebook page, Dougie does all the social media. It's impressive.
He's very good at it. He's a
I
born
know. So was it Dougie's idea to do all the genius merch? I think it's fair to say. I've seen skateboards, I've seen umbrellas, I've seen pizza cutters, more shirts than you know what to do. I'm pretty sure there's an apron in there as well.
We've got a few aprons now. Yeah.
Was it? Do you just look around your house and pass the message on to Dougie to be like, dude, I saw this thing. I think we could sell this.
Well, it's funny because, so like I said, we started the band in lockdown, and basically we had a demo, but we couldn't play any shows. We were locked down for nearly the whole year. It was.
I know, man. I had a mate that living in Melbourne, and just every time he messaged them,
yeah,
it's just like, wow, we're in lockdown again. I can only go 5Ks from my house. You know,
it was intense. But I honestly think that being almost like caged up for a while, let our minds go to really weird places, and Pizza Death came out of that. So there's something good.
And people say it was all bad.
One negative. No, one positive, sorry.
Hey, man, like you said, 50-50 split with how people react to Pizza Death. Some people would see it as a negative, others are, positive.
Totally, yeah.
But yeah, the merch ideas, like, is it just a case of what can we throw our name on?
Oh, exactly. That's what we were talking about. So like I was saying, we started the band in lockdown, and it was very hard to promote because we couldn't play shows. So we sort of turned our attention just to social media because it was free and it was easy. And sort of the way that we did that was just come up with ridiculous merch. And for a while, in the height of our lockdown, we actually were doing weekly puzzles and stuff where it was Where's Wally, but it was all Dougie's face. It was called Spot the Dougfriends, and people loved it. We did it for a little while, and we're just like, what do they win? So we were like, well, an umbrella. We had a protective face mask with Dougie all over it, and we had some clocks and stuff. And so I guess at a very early point, we were very comfortable with just trying anything and thinking outside the box a little bit. And some of those things, like the aprons and the clocks, we came up with that very early on, and people kind of why are you doing that? But now people seem to have come around and go, oh, no, that's a good idea. And so it's sort of as long as people keep being interested in buying it, it's we'll make it. And yeah, I don't know. I think it makes people excited to cook as well, with the aprons and the pizza cutters. I've got one at home, and when I make pizza, I can't wait to put it on.
So it's you and That's What I Reckon are making people who are into heavy music appreciate cooking as well.
Exactly. I think you might be a slightly better cook than me.
I always wonder how that guy has such perfect hair. It looks flawless in everything. And
I reckon he gets blow dried or something.
I must, because I remember watching it by myself, and then my girlfriend's like, who is this man, and how is his hair so shiny all the time? What is his last name? Is it just What I Reckon?
His middle name's What, and his last name's I Reckon.
See, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
On the topic of trying everything, you guys had a video game that got put out last record.
Yes.
Keeping on brand. It had Dougie in it.
It did.
How do you guys come up with a video game? We know that you, Pizza Death, are well into trying anything. Being born out of lockdown, you kind of go, mate, what have we got to lose? We haven't played a show. Let's just see how we go. But
exactly,
a video game seems like quite a big feat for a band that's, like you said, just released a demo, just released a record, and probably played under 15 shows at that stage?
Oh, way less. Yeah, probably less than 10 at that point. So our drummer has a background in coding. He started working as a games maker, and I'm a graphic designer. And it's funny, we've been talking about making a game together for years, and we tried a few things, and nothing really took off. And it's an insane amount of work, so it's very easy to let it fall away to the wayside and forget about it. But when we started Pizza Death, it's well, here's a reason to actually finish the game, and it took us probably 2 years in the background, just a few hours here and there, little spurts. Sometimes we wouldn't work on it for a little while, but it was, we just chipped away. And we're there's actually, there's an audience for this, because usually we would be what do you do with the game? You just put it up on Steam and then tell your friends, but at least. And then
hope that someone gets it. Yeah.
Yeah. Please. But at least this is there's a connection to the game, so we could promote it to the band. So we could promote it through that. And we ended up, our friend owns a pizza shop in Collingwood called Tin Slizzy, and we had a night there. We projected on the wall, and everyone played it, and got the highest scores and whatever. We actually did that for the new album as well. We did another a listening party We had the projector with the game up on the
Nice.
screen. Yeah. It's a really hard game. But the drummer, he did all the coding, I did all the graphics, and I kept saying it's too hard. And then when I eventually finished it, I was like, nah, perfect.
It's that good level of reward. Did you guys do a signature pizza for the releases at, was it Thin Slizzy?
It wasn't for the release, but they did end up naming one of their pizzas after one of our songs.
Nice.
Song Excruciating Pineapple. They always said we're not ever going to do pineapple pizza because they're traditionalists. And then they're like, oh, that's a pretty good name. So they did this like caramelized burnt base, like it's like this gourmet jalapenos and prosciutto. And it's really fucking good actually, but it has pineapple on the base instead of a tomato base. It's like a burnt pineapple base. It's insane.
Okay, so it's more like a sweet one. Where do you stand on dessert pizza if that's the case? Because I've had that before and it just feels a bit weird, you know?
It's so they do pull back their sweetness a bit. I think like burning the pineapple on the Thin Slizzy one. And so it's not as sweet as you'd anticipate it would be. But I'm not that against, like, honestly, I don't tell anyone, but I'm not that against pineapple on pizza. It's just a funnier song.
Yeah, and it kind of reaches that like hating Nickelback level of if you have a strong opinion on it, like, what are you doing, you know?
Totally. But it's funny, we do a wall of death at our shows where the people who like pineapple go on one side and the people who hate, and it is surprisingly 50-50.
Is that the ethos for the band, just to try and split it down the middle and see where it goes?
Pretty much. But also, we don't pizza shame. People should like whatever they like.
That's true.
So, no right and wrong answer.
I was about to, is there any pizza that you think's too far?
I did have one that had sushi on it once, which was a bit far for me.
Sushi on a pizza?
Yeah, it didn't work.
That's like, it's one of those things where separately and by themselves, love them, great, that's perfect.
Yeah.
But the combination is, that's a bit odd, that.
Yeah, it's like both people from both markets would be like, no, I like sushi and I like pizza, but have you had anything that weird on a pizza before?
Probably not. Like I said, I think the weirdest one that I've had, and it's not even that weird, was just a dessert pizza.
Yeah.
So it was like I think it might have been the same pizza base, but it had chocolate sauce, ice cream, and assorted sprinkles.
Yeah.
And I never had it before, so I don't know whether it was the novelty of it that I wasn't a really big fan of. It tasted fine, but it's one of those things where you look and go, I'm not quite sure about this.
Yeah, I get that.
Have you guys finally made it onto Metal Archives yet, or are you still waiting to be uploaded?
Well, I heard this story the other day that they have been asked a few times and they refused because we're not metal.
Is crossover thrash not metal though? Like, where are they drawing the distinction?
Well, I mean, I feel like gatekeepers should be stopping us. If gatekeepers are stopping people from coming through, we would be the prime candidates to. You know what I mean?
There's a big cardboard cutout of like, do not let these guys through, and it's just you and Slicezilla.
Like bounce through the door like that.
I mean, at least the gatekeepers are doing their job, but still, where do you draw the line, you know?
Exactly. I don't know. It's kind of, I think it's funnier that we're not on there.
I was listening. I was checking out and seeing what we can line up to chat. Out of all the bands that aren't allowed on there, like you guys not being allowed on there, that's a laugh and a half, that is.
Well, I don't know if it's true, but it wouldn't surprise me.
The interview that you guys did with Ross Purdy, just pure chaos. I was trying to write notes, but you were talking so much shit that I couldn't actually write notes on it, because it's like when you listen to Roy and HG, you get to a point where you're like, I don't know where, like, how much of this is actually true.
Because even the notes wouldn't even make sense because it's so stop-starty.
Yeah, it's just like, how did you guys go with Rage? Did that ever happen?
Afraid not. They didn't like our audition all that much.
Did he at least give you a balaclava in the end, or is that still in waiting?
Nah, that's his thing. I guess if we had it, then he wouldn't be able to tell us apart, man.
I've gone through more or less everything that I wanted to have a chat about, but we mentioned off air that you guys have a tour coming up a little bit later on
Yes,
in the
we
year.
do. October, November, we're going to announce that in the next few weeks. Still figuring out the last little details, but October, November, we're doing the East Coast. We're going to be doing Brisbane and Sydney, and a few shows around Melbourne, and I'm probably forgetting a few. But yeah, we'll be coming to your town soon, so looking forward to it. Adelaide as well.
Not making the trek over to Western Australia.
It's very hard to afford it. We would love to. Our bass player is actually from there. But,
really?
Yeah, we just can't figure out how we wouldn't lose a whole bunch of money heading over there because we're not running on much cash here.
It's the thing that blows my mind that it's cheaper and quicker to fly to New Zealand than it is to fly to Perth from the East Coast. Like, I'm based out of Brisbane, and I'm like, how does that make any sense?
It's insane. Australia is so fucking big.
It is. And just, again, like, new country. I guess it is, 3 hours compared to 6 hours. But yeah, even then, that's ridiculous. Do you have any highlights or anything that you're looking forward to heading around the east coast of Australia and Adelaide? We can't forget that.
Yes. Sorry about that. We'll be heading back to Brisbane. We played King Lear's Throne there last time, and I got to say that's probably one of the funnest shows we've ever played. We got such a great reception, so I'm really fucking excited to get back to Brisbane. I mean, it's all going to be so much fun. We love playing shows, and people have been getting really into it. Getting good reception in a lot of the places we play. And so, I can't wait to get back on the road and hit the stage again.
From a lot of the Brisbane-based bands that I talked to, thrash for the longest time was like, the king genre here. So it does make sense that when you guys came and played that everyone was like, oh yeah, this is good.
Nice.
I haven't been able to head to King Lear's Throne, but I've heard nothing but good things about it.
It's great, yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time out and having a chat to me. If people wanted to get in touch with you, wanted to check out the record, wanted to buy some of the multiple merch ideas that you guys have got coming out, how would they do so?
Our Bandcamp is probably the best place if you want any merch, we've got records on there as well, or we've got Spotify. So both of our albums are on there too. And then, Facebook and Instagram, just look up Pizza Death. And if you want to message us about anything, the amount of people that send us just random pizza photos and gifts and stuff, it's awesome. So if you want to do that, do it.
Are they particularly heinous photos that just like, dude, look what they put on here? Or they just go, this is funny, I'm going to send it to the guys?
Kind of a mix. Yeah, it might be like a funny gif, or it might be like a photo of their dinner. Or sometimes we have pizza chefs send us photos of pizzas they've made. It's fucking awesome.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, although it is very hard when you're trying not to eat, a big lunch and you're getting a delicious pizza on your phone. You're like,
I know that feeling all too well. I'm in a group chat of like really big wrestling dorks, and there's a guy from Sydney who almost every day will send us a photo of whatever sandwich that he has. And the sandwiches are always like yay big, meat, cheese, the whole shebang. And I'm just going, first and foremost, how the hell are you affording these sandwiches? Like, they look expensive as fuck. But secondly, God damn it. How are you eating all this, man? Like, I'd feel crook.
That's like 3 days of food, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like the huge sandwich, it's just constantly like, look what I had for lunch at work today.
Rubbing it in.
He is. But again, I appreciate you taking the time out and having a chat with us. Go check out Reign of the Antichrust, available through all the streaming services. And appreciate your time.
Thanks so much for having me, Matt. Love your work.